questions for the department first, and then I'll ask some questions to Housing Australia, given that you're separate entities. Okay, so how's it going with the housing targets?
Senator, there are a range of housing targets. There's the 1.2 million National Housing Accord
How's it
target.
going?
The Housing Accord target, I think it's widely known, Senator, that achieving the full 1.2 million will be challenging. I think the National Housing Supply and Affordability Council has described that target as ambitious but suitable. There are good signs of progress in the housing market at the moment. Approvals are doing very well. Construction activity is doing very well. The cost of construction has come back a bit. The time to construct housing has come back a bit since the start of the Accord process and the efforts of all jurisdictions, the Commonwealth and also state and local and private industry, I might say, to improve housing supply. So there is good progress across a wide range of those fronts on the 1.2 million. There's also very good progress, Senator, against the government's 55,000 social and affordable
I didn't ask about
target.
that. So let's just try and stay on task and try and have like crisp, efficient answers. So the 1.2 million, how many will be actually constructed of the 1.2 million?
Senator, the most recent forecast is the National Housing Supply and Affordability Council's forecast of nearly 12 months ago now, which said 938,000 dwellings during the Accord period.
So about 250,000 short.
On those numbers, which are 12 months old, nearly 12 months old, and as I've pointed out, Senator, there are recent improvements in housing market conditions that I think pointing in an optimistic direction.
Well, I mean, we said the RBA governor here. Were you able to hear any of her evidence?
I didn't hear her evidence.
So the RBA is forecasting negative dwelling growth over the Accord period, so it will actually go negative by 2028.
Senator, I didn't hear the governor's evidence, so I'm not going to offer a comment about that.
Fine. But I think we can safely say that the targets won't be met. Which is the worst state so far?
That's your assertion, Senator.
That's the evidence we just heard. We're 250,000 houses short.
Well, that's
250,000 houses short. That's the evidence we just heard.
That's your assertion.
It's not an assertion.
That is not the evidence
it's a fact.
that we just heard.
It's a fact.
That is not the evidence we just heard. And you can bellow. I'm
not sure where you were.
Carry on. And I understand the sort of sense of anguish on your side of politics.
I think you need hearing aids. You need hearing aids.
The point of a target and the contributions that institutions make along the way about making assessments about how the target is proceeding, is the point of a target. It is designed to concentrate the mind and deliver the kind of national effort that is required to make a difference. Housing approvals have increased every year over the last 3 years.
Yeah.
Construction costs have stabilised.
It's gone backwards.
Construction costs have stabilised.
You built fewer houses.
The idea, the Liberal model for this is
once his political
do nothing.
I'll ask him some questions.
Do nothing. And let private industry.
This is good. I'm happy to have
other people's achievements. What happened when you were in government was precisely nothing.
I mean, we can
precisely nothing.
Chair, I'm happy to have the situation where the minister can try and debase Senate estimates with his political speeches, but if he's going to do that, I'm going to ask him questions. Okay?
Okay, hang on. Let's try and. Excuse me, Senator
I'm happy to hear your
if you're going to
speeches.
misrepresent evidence that's just been put to you,
he just said we're going to miss it by 250,000.
Let's just.
That was not what the official said.
All right, let's stop arguing so we can get the information that each person is trying to get out. So let's try and focus on Senator Bragg. If you want to ask your next, go ahead and ask questions. If we one at a time, you ask and then not talk over the top of each other, please. I think everybody will get a lot more out of it.
I understand. You're doing a good job, Chair. I don't want to antagonise you. All right.
Instead.
Come on, let's...
I'm not
keep it
patronising
nice,
anyone.
everyone. Senator Bragg, off you go.
So, okay, well, I think we've dealt with that issue. So we're 250,000 houses behind on the national housing target. So which states are doing the worst out of all of them?
Senator, the states that are doing well are Victoria, WA and the ACT.
Yeah, who's going bad?
The Northern Territory has some particular challenges that relate to their market conditions.
Right, what about New South Wales?
New South Wales and Queensland are not doing so well compared to the targets. I'm sure we can find a more accurate description than that based on the 2025 forecast. For your benefit, Senator, all of these numbers will be updated in the 2026 State of the Housing System report with reforecasts that reflect current market circumstances and that will, in the ordinary course of events, that will be published in kind of April, May this year.
So have you looked at the latest Statement of Monetary Policy?
I haven't looked at the precise Statement of Monetary Policy, Senator. Of course, I've read summaries of it and media reporting about it.
Okay. Would you like me to ask you some questions about it in relation to your housing role, or would you like to send another official to the table?
Senator, why don't you ask the questions and let's work out where it's best to direct those questions.
Okay. Well, I'll get the numbers. I think that'll be more useful. So. So in the RBA's November 2025 Statement of Monetary Policy, the bank was projecting dwelling investment growth of 4.8% in December 25, 3.7% in June 26, 3.1% in December 26, 2.7% in June 27, and then 2.5% in December 27. So that was their projections in November last year. Now, if you look at the Statement of Monetary Policy from this February, they go from 5.5, 3.7, 1.8, 1.1, 0.3, and then negative 0.4 by June 28. So that I imagine would concern you as the Chief Commissar of Housing at the Treasury, that we're getting negative dwelling investment now projected by the central bank. So what do you say to that?
Senator, what I would say to that is the forecasts that are in the MyEFO documentation and that are broadly reflected in the numbers that you've read out in the short term are for solid dwelling investment growth in the short term, in particular in 2026-27. That's a positive. There are market conditions that are improving. There are a wide range of government actions that are beginning to kick in, both at the Commonwealth level and at state and territory government level, all of which we're now starting to see flow through into positive signs in the housing market. I'm not going to second-guess the Governor on monetary policy or economic forecasts, Senator. You wouldn't expect me to.
You sound relaxed. That's good. I'm glad you're happy.
I'm obsessed, actually, with getting a better outcome, but
I was
wouldn't
surprised.
describe myself as relaxed. But there is a lot of focus going on about trying to improve housing market conditions, both for the benefit of first-home buyers and also for the benefit of renters.
Okay, so let's go to the 5% deposit scheme modelling. So, hello, Mr. Dowie.
Hello, Senator.
How are you?
Good, thank you.
It's good. Now, were you the decision maker on an FOI in relation to modelling?
I was the decision maker in relation to FOI.
You were the decision maker. Well, do you know that we talked about you last night?
I did.
Well, it was all very positive. Nothing to worry about.
I heard you mention me several times by name.
Well, we know that you're a very good official, and we're just trying to. I mean, one of the benefits of having Senate estimates is it's a fantastic transparency organ, because it allows us actually to, unfortunately, highlight that there are times when the FOI system doesn't work as well as it could. Maybe there are mistakes made. We all make mistakes, myself included. And so it appears that in the FOI 4065, which was in relation to the modelling which we discussed at length last time, so we now have a bit more information, because last time we had this conversation I was asking you whether the modelling was on a piece of paper, how it was transmitted, all that sort of stuff, all those stupid questions that you probably found quite irritating. But now we know that it was on a piece of paper. It was sent in an email to the Director of Policy at the Office of the Honourable Claire O'Neill, and there were a few numbers in there, but obviously a lot of redactions. So the official last night gave evidence that the legal branch advised you as the decision maker as to how you apply the FOI rules. Is that right?
So in coming to my decision under the FOI Act,
Yeah.
I did consult with the legal branch to make sure that I understood the relevant provisions of the Act sufficiently to make a decision.
Okay, and so you're the decision maker, so you're accountable for making the Section 22 exemption.
Yes, Senator.
So you decided that the FOI seeking access to the modelling on the 5% deposit scheme, market impacts and everything else, that you decided that point 4, factoring in the supply response, those details were irrelevant.
So, to give you some context, Senator, I believe you're referring to document 1 of
Yeah,
the information
document
pack
1.
that was
Yeah.
that was released to you. So, in relation to that document, I did apply the test of what was relevant to your request, and just for the record, the request that you did make was for any and all correspondence, briefings and other documents, including emails and messaging on mobile devices related to Treasury modelling regarding the market and housing price impacts caused by the government's expansion of the home guarantee scheme. And that particular document that you're referring to there, document 1, did contain information that was transmitted from Treasury to the Housing Minister's office about some of the assumptions that sat behind Treasury's modelling, and that's the information that was disclosed to you.
Yeah, I know that. But the FOI was about market and price impacts caused by the government's expansion of the scheme. You've blacked out factoring in the supply response, saying it's irrelevant. So I find it hard to imagine, given the context that we're working in, when supply has collapsed under this government, and that's one of the reasons that we have the significant price impacts because of the 5% scheme, that you thought it was okay to say that that section was irrelevant.
So, just to be clear, Senator, what your FOI request was about Treasury modelling. So, the information that was released to you was about information that was relevant to Treasury's modelling.
Senator, for the record, I believe this matter is also subject to an appeal to the OAIC through the FOI process.
And as you know, that will take years and years and years. And your strategy is to run the clock down so you don't have to give any documents to the Senate.
No,
I get that.
Senator, I'm sorry.
I get that.
With respect, that's deeply offensive.
I get that.
That's calling into question the professionalism of public servants at the table. That's not appropriate.
You've blacked out stuff that is clearly not irrelevant.
So,
it's not the first time this has happened.
Senator, you just made some assertions about the conduct and professionalism of public servants that, with respect, were not appropriate. The decision maker made a decision. That decision, I believe, is now being appealed, or whatever the right language is, through the OAIC. That is the normal process and an appropriate process to make sure that the decision maker made the correct decision. And undoubtedly, if Mr Dowie erred, that will become apparent to all.
There's no rule that says that we can't ask you about the way that you administer your department here at Senate Estimates. That's the whole point of it.
Yes, but it is a normal and reasonable proposition for the Director General to advance that this is the subject of a review. It's a formal legal process, and it's not appropriate to
Why?
prejudice.
Why is it not appropriate?
That process.
But why is it not appropriate?
Well, because you don't want to prejudice that process, do you?
Or
do you?
I'm asking why.
Or do you? Is that what this is really about?
There's not actually...
Trying to distort the proper review process.
Just because there's a review, it doesn't mean that you can't ask questions about these materials.
Is that your intention?
I'm asking questions about these materials because they've been blacked out unnecessarily.
I think if
they shouldn't have been blacked out. You've made the wrong...
Stop verbling the committee, Minister. I mean, it's okay for Senator Bragg to ask questions about the decision.
So I think
and
in terms of this issue...
You're doing exactly what you're complaining about him doing to you.
Senator Colbeck, in terms of this issue, I think Senator Bragg has asked a range of questions. The department has responded in terms of the matters being under review. Do you want to ask a follow-up about that, or and can we move on? Because in terms of what other information you're going to be able to elicit, this was discussed last night as well. And similar responses were provided in terms of a review elsewhere.
I mean, this is a pretty basic transparency thing that we're asking about, right? This is, whatever your views are on this scheme, it's a significant market intervention. Some people think it's good, some people think it's bad. We're just trying to get an understanding of the modelling and the assumptions that were provided to the executive to justify this policy intervention. I'm not asking you to give away cabinet secrets or other things in our system which are not appropriate. Effectively, your assertion is, I'm sure you've tried to do the right thing. I don't want to impugn any Treasury official, Mr. Rimmer. Your department has used an exemption here to say that the supply response is irrelevant to the modelling underpinning the 5% deposit scheme. Now, there's only two sides to the market. There's the supply side and then there's the demand side. So by saying the one whole side of the market is irrelevant to the question at hand, I think means that you've blocked out something as irrelevant that could never be irrelevant. So that's why I'm asking the question.
Sure. And Senator, you've made an assertion. That assertion will be tested through the OARC process. The decision maker has made a decision in accordance with his legal obligations, and the decision is, as you have in front of you in your hands, based on a proper application of the FOI Act, I'm sure. And if it's found to be an improper application of the FOI Act, then that will all become part of the record
fine.
in due course.
So just so I understand, so the evidence you're giving is that you judged it to be irrelevant because the scope of the FOI, in your judgment, was not relevant to the supply response.
Senator, just to be clear, in relation to that section 4 of that document 1, there was information that was released about Treasury's view on the supply response of this scheme.
It was blacked out.
No, there was also some dot points under that that were released. In terms of the entirety of that section, some of the material there that has been redacted because it didn't relate to the views on Treasury's modelling, which is what your request related to.
Well, what did you assume the supply response is then?
So, in terms of the supply response that we assume for the purposes of this modelling, our modelling is based on the work by Saunders and Tulip, which effectively has the assumptions that supply over time increases when prices increase, and so there's more incentive for the market to increase supply in movement with market prices.
So,
Come back to you.
okay, thanks. So, did you have dwelling completions number in mind for the year or for the years ahead?
I'm not sure we have those specific numbers with us at the table, Senator.
Well, I think isn't the official looking for a piece of paper?
But I'm not sure he's
I don't
finding
think we
one.
have that.
You don't. Okay. So, but there would have been some numbers. You just don't have them with you.
So in terms of the modelling that we would have done, we've used our modelling and we've made some assumptions there in terms of the amount of people who would take up the scheme, and we've made some assumptions there based on that about what that would do to prices.
Yeah, but just to be clear, you did assume that there would be a certain number of dwellings completed over the period of the modelling.
Well, what we assumed is that there would be a shock to the model. We've applied that shock in terms of the additional demand that this scheme would generate, and as a result of that, the model has given us some assumptions around what the prices are likely to be over time, and the model itself just has some assumptions based in it around what the supply does in relation to that.
Okay, and the supply data would have come from the Treasury or the RBA?
Oh, well, the supply data itself, as I say, it's how the modelling itself works, which is that we're assuming that any price increases would have there'd be a supply response in response to that.
Senator, if I can help, the model produces a marginal change to the supply outcomes and the price outcomes. It doesn't predict a future price or a future number of completions, which I think is where your question was heading.
It doesn't have any numbers?
That's not what I said, Senator.
What did you say?
I said the model predicts the marginal impact of different policy settings, not the absolute impact of all policy settings and all other variables in the housing market.
But it's not an abstract. I mean, you're putting something into the market.
Sure, but Senator, as you know, there are many other variables that are going on in the housing market from day to day, including the RBA's monetary policy stance, real growth in incomes, and other factors.
Let's stick with our favourite FOI 4065. Yep.
I'm going to have to rotate the call. You've had more than 20 minutes, but I will come back to you, okay?
Understand.
Thank you. Senator Pocock.
Thank you.